Hey, hello, welcome to Mr. and Mrs. Brain Dump Safety Preload. And we have a couple of people on their way, Infamous Biker and the White Biker. Talk of the old devil there. Here he is. Hello, buddy.
Hi, mate.
How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I thought Keith was coming in.
Yeah, I think he's on his way.
Oh,
Indeedy.
I like eating the tea at the same time, so.
Yeah, it's all right. So yeah, today it's about riding with a pillion or riding to it. And also, there's probably going to be a little bit of time for your state of mind while riding and how that can affect it. And here he is, Keith White Biker. Hello there.
How you doing?
All right, mate.
Yeah.
How you doing, Kev?
Yeah, not bad, mate. You?
Yeah, great, thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm getting text now for suggestions to talk about later when it's fully loaded. Anyway, right. So thanks for coming along, guys, and helping out. This is just about riding to it. For those that are watching, if you're watching on YouTube, you can still watch on there if you want, but if you follow the link in the bottom left-hand corner of the video, it should say, do you want to go to the Hangout and watch it? And if you go there, then you can ask questions on the question and answers tool, which I need to switch on. As if Google would behave. Come on, show me the window. Oh, I'll tell you, Google. Hey, finally. Okay, Q&A is now loading. I'm ready. Okay, so Q&A is now up and ready. So, guys, as per usual, and me always going on too much, who wants to go first on general information, what you do in terms of taking passengers, pillions, riding to up? Anyone want to take it first?
Yeah?
I've only ridden twos up with a handful of people. The main one being my missus, girlfriend. The only, before, the first time I took her, she'd never been on the back of a bike. So I just told her, basically, just to stay as close to me as possible, like her body as close to mine, and just move with me. Don't make any sudden movements, and whatever she does when I'm stopped, do not fidget around. And that was it, really. To be fair, when I'm riding with the missus, there's such a big weight difference between us both because she's small and I'm so big. I don't really feel it anyway, to be honest. But I can see it would be a problem if it was like the other way around. I can see it would be a pretty huge problem. Yeah, I just told her what she needed to do, and after that, she's been fine. Stay with me, don't fidget around, and it's all good.
Yeah. Excellent. And what about you, Keith?
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, I think it depends on who your pillion is. I mean, if you get, someone that's more experienced, they kind of know what they're doing, but I've only taken my girlfriend on that once, and my advice to her was exactly the same: keep close, don't over-exaggerate when I'm going around a bend. I kind of told her if I'm going around a left-hand bend, look over my left-hand shoulder. If I'm going over my right-hand bend, look over my right, and you'll pretty much mirror what I'm doing. And again, sit still, don't fidget. Otherwise, if you start going opposite the way that I'm going, the bike's more likely to go straight on than go around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually, I took my mum on the back of the bike. She hadn't been on for years. My dad was a biker and she'd been on for like 20 or 30 years, and she kept going on, oh, I want to go, I want to go. So I took her on the back, and she was a nightmare. She was horrendous. Like you were saying, Keith, she was leaning the other way.
Yeah.
Awful. And I was saying to her, I pulled over in the end, I said to her, will you stop leaning the other way? Why are you leaning the other way when I go into a corner? And her excuse was that she wanted to see the road.
That's a classic response, isn't it? Yeah, like you say, it does affect the balance of the bike. If you're going one way and the person behind is going the other way, the bike kind of wants to sit upright, and and not lean around the bend. So it can be quite unnerving, really.
Because if she didn't lean all the way over, I'd have to counter that to get the bike into the corner. And then if she decided to shift their weight the other way, bloody hell, I'd practically get my knee down then. Raising moments.
Yeah. I found it easier starting off with it. I mean, my daughter's been on the back of my bike since she was 8, so she's been on the back about 4 years now. And I found it easier starting with a smaller person on the back, getting used to it before moving on to, an adult. So I was always nervous about putting an adult on the back, but since I've had my daughter on the back most of the time, I find putting an adult on the back just as easy now. There is a big difference between the weight, of course. I mean, a child you can barely feel her on the back, but an adult, certainly the weight difference is better. But I think if I'd started with an adult, I think I would have been slightly more nervous than if I'd started with a child and got used to having a pillion on the back.
Yeah. I mean, I've got visions now of you with a little board next to your bike with a little height marker on it. Oh no, you're too tall. You can't come on.
You can't come on the ride. You're too tall.
No. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. I mean, I suppose there's two different things to that bit. Is that obviously someone younger may not be experienced in, like being on the road and knowing about, being ready for stuff. Because obviously you really want your passenger to be where they're going as well, so they can like brace and stuff and understand that when you're going to stop, they're not busy doing something else and falling off. One of the things there's a few things that I learned from taking passengers. One is, even if they've told you they've been on the back before, just tell them what you want them to do. Because I nearly once had someone drag me off the Hayabusa, not my one I've got now, but my Stealth, who said, can you give us a lift? And no one goes on my bike without armour, by the way. So, and this person had all the gear. But when he went to get on it, he basically tried to pull himself up, like grab hold of the seat and pull it towards him and stand on the peg. And then he levered me off the flipping bike. I managed to hold it just. But, so he's like, yeah, don't do that. Get all your weight over. And this is just getting on the bike we're talking about now. What I tend to do now, because it's better for Mrs. B, because she's got a bit of a dodgy knee, it helps for me to put the bike on the side stand and steady it that way, because that way the peg's lower for her. It means she doesn't have to worry about trying to get on from a curb. And it also means that when she does get on, although she does get on properly, and she's always got on before with me, just bolt upright, but she prefers it to be a little bit lower. And she gets weight balance right anyway. But for someone, for example, that doesn't get on too well, in other words, sort of like pulls himself on, if it's on the side stand, there's less chance of it dragging everyone over, including the bike. And also it makes it easier for them to get on. So why not? And I don't know if Keith, you went to the Lincolnshire ride, didn't you? And you filmed, and I did the same for Calm Biker, and I know he rides bike and everything else, but I prefer it now myself to avoid any issues. If you just put it on the side stand and say, go on then, hop on, it doesn't matter how they get on. If they slip, they fall, no one's going to, the only person that's going to come off any worse is the person trying to get on the bike, rather than you and the bike and the person trying to get on. So why not put the side stand down and let them get on that way? And obviously check the foot pegs down. That's the other one. Swing the leg over and it's like, there's no foot peg. And they just go flying off the other side.
Do you find, I mean, I've never tried it with the side stand down. Do you find it not more difficult to try and bring the bike upright with it being over already? Do you not find that being a problem?
Well, you've seen how big I am. I am pretty strong for my size, but in fact, someone used to call me Arnold Schwarzenegger because of the way I could like push the bike back with just sitting on it with my legs. And I was like, wow, that's a really heavy bike. Anyway, but yeah, no, but the bike's 1/4 of a ton, a little bit more than that when it's fully fueled, plus Mrs. B. I'm not going to go into that, and me. All right, and it's on its side stand, and I lift it no problem at all. And if you have, there was one circumstance, I think it was when we was in Wales, and I stopped the bike and we was on this gravel. It was really loose gravel. Then I said to her, right, get on the bike, and then what I want you to do, because I couldn't get any leverage with my foot because the gravel was so slippery, I said just lean with me and get the bike up. So she transferred her weight over that, off to away from the side stand, and that helped me get it up because I couldn't put too much force on that leg because I know what would have happened. My foot would have slipped, and that works as well. So yeah, that's how I do it. Just before we go any further, just quickly say hello to Hi Calm Biker.
Hello, Calm.
And also hi to Devon Mellon. Hello there.
Hi, Devon.
Dude.
And I'll just have to, let me just quickly say, select those and get rid of those off there. And then Calm says he's got some advice from experience of going on the back of the buster, I think. And he says, best advice, tell them to vlog as they go. Well, try to vlog, for about 4 seconds. And then accelerate hard and wait for the woo! And then manic crazy laughter. So yeah, that was good fun, that was. So yeah, getting on the bike. I mean, infamous biker, have you ever used the side stands for let your passengers get on, or?
I don't put the bike down onto its side stand. I have the side stand out just in case it goes. So hopefully that'll catch the bike. But I don't have it on the side stand. But I do always tell people when they're getting on. Like I say, I've only carried a handful of people, but when I tell them to get on, I always tell them to get on it like they would get onto a horse and keep the weight as close to the bike as they possibly can, rather than just coming at it from the side and pulling the whole bike with them. And that tends to work. I've had no one pull the bike over yet, so it seems to work. So, but I think with the exception of my mum, I think I've been lucky enough. Quite good pillions, to be honest. So.
Yeah, it's definitely something to try though. You'll be surprised. If it doesn't work for you, then don't do it anymore. But I recommend you try it at least because, and especially if you're getting off as well. I know that sounds weird, but I've had people that have slipped whilst they're getting off, and again they've nearly pulled me off the bike, or they've nearly pulled the bike over. And to be honest, I've not really used the side stand really until I met Mrs. B, to be honest. But because of her knee. And I suddenly found, you know what, this is just so much easier and it takes all the risk out of people getting on and off. So yeah, give it a go. I mean, you do think initially, like you did, Keith, that it might be hard to get the bike up right. But I can tell you, there's not many bikes as heavy as a Hayabusa.
No.
And yeah, it's not a problem. So give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kev's idea about putting the side stand down just in case it goes. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I might try that. Certainly in those areas where the ground might be slightly sloped anywhere, it's a bit gravelly. I might try that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I can't take the praise for that. My instructor taught me that one.
No, but it's something that I'd not really thought of. And I'd never used to. I just used to let them get off and just take all the weight on my legs, and hopefully they got off without any issues. But
sorry, come on.
No, go on, mate.
I was just saying, I think I'm quite lucky in the fact because I'm quite tall. I can firmly plant both of my feet down on the floor on both of my bikes, so it's a good stance there. Put the front brake on, get both feet planted on the floor, and there's a good, it's quite well anchored down there. So. But I'll try that. I'll try the side stand thing next time I take the list of notes. I
mean, one thing, it does make it easy for passengers to get on. So there is that to consider, because I know some people, is it Skunk Dartscone's missus has to get on from the curb. But I think when they went and tested another bike, she could actually get on by him doing the side stand method, which gets the bike far enough over for her to get her foot up. Otherwise, quite often some people with shorter pillions, they normally have to go and find a curve to get on from, which is a bit hit and miss sometimes. So yeah, that's another thing. So once you've got the pillion on, and you've got the bike up, right? What's the plan from there? How do you get them to hold on?
Right, Keith, you go.
Okay.
No problem. I'm first last time, so.
Well. Again, it depends on the pillion. I mean, my daughter initially, she always used to hold on, but now she can't. Pillion's like a boss now. She holds on that grab rail behind the back, which is slightly unnerving because I'd rather hang on to me. But I've had both types. I've had people that very definitely don't want to hold onto me, which is fair enough, and rather hold on the rail at the back. and those that would rather hold on to me. I think it's personal preference, but again, it's making sure that the person is aware of what to do. Just because you're not holding on to the rider generally doesn't mean you shouldn't do all the things you should be doing, like leaning properly and making sure you do the right thing. So again, it's about making sure you're aware what they're going to do, and they're aware that what you want them to do, you know, so you kind of, there's no surprises, because the last thing you want to do is suddenly you go off and they're not holding on and suddenly they're off the back of the bike, you know.
Yeah.
I tend to say to everyone, look, I'll decide when you go on and I'll decide when you get off, and I'll tell you when I'm going, because, you know, again, there's no surprises, you know, because you don't want someone starting to climb on the back of the bike when you're not even ready in the first place. Yeah. Again, if I'm ready to go, I'll say, right, you ready? We're going, and then again, they're ready to hold on for that initial thrust away, you know. Well, not so much of a thrust from our bike, but with the boost that it would be. More of a gentle ease off.
Yeah. How about you, Kev?
I just let them do however they feel comfortable. When I'm on the bike, because I ride with the missus quite a lot, we've actually got like a belt that goes around my waist, and it's got 2 plastic handles on it.
Oh yeah.
And it comes round to the front, so she can kind of like put her arms around me, but she's got actual handles to hold on to. And I'm not talking about my love handles before I does it. So yeah, that's what we do with her. She's tried the grab rails. And she doesn't really like it, and I can see why, because when I bought when I went to buy the ZZR, the guy wouldn't let me take it for the test ride, but he said, we can go out, you know, come on the back and we can go out for a ride together. So I went on the back, and I didn't really want to put my arms around him because I'd only just met him, it was a bit gay. And so I put my hands on the back and on the grab rail, and I felt really uncomfortable. I felt really, really exposed. I really did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I personally wouldn't like to grab the grab rails unless I absolutely have to. But even when Jen's on the back, if she grabs the grab rail, I've got no feeling of her being there at all. I just can't feel it at all when she grabs the grab rail. So it's a little bit unnerving for me as well, because I don't really know what's going on behind me. Yeah. Whereas if she's got her arms around me, I can kind of feel what she's doing, and so it's a bit better for me as well. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I do. And I always tell, me and the missus we've got radios on our helmets, so it's okay when we're together. But if I'm on with anyone else, I always just say, you know, if you're uncomfortable, if anything's not right, just squeeze me with your legs, and I'll pull straight over. Yeah, it seems to work.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I'm going to take someone on the bus, just lost Keith there. If I'm going to take someone on the buzzer, then I will normally want them to hold on to me, so I've got feedback of what they're doing and everything. And it was the same for car and bike when you got on. The trouble is that the buzzer can really pull hard at any speed. And let's say you was on the autobahn, for example, and you're doing 100 miles an hour, and you open up the throttle, it is like pulling away from the traffic lights. And if you're holding on to the grab rail, what I've seen happen to people is they actually pivot over their arms and off the back, because the weight just transfers over and they just pivot over their arms and off the back of the bike. And so therefore I prefer people to hold on to me. There is a compromise to that as well. If you're going to be riding hard with someone on the back for whatever reason, maybe you're doing, I know, track day experience or something like that. One of the techniques to get around the braking is that you do one arm around the waist and the other arm on the grab rail. That way you can stop yourself from sort of basically blasting into the rider, but with one arm, and you can hold on with the other. It's a technique that you can try if someone's going to be riding hard and you're the passenger. But overall, I prefer the person holding to me, because I've got all the handlebars. I'm not going to let go of those, and they're on to me, and jobs are good. And that's how I prefer it, really. Like you say, Kev, if they're not holding on to you, think, well, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Are they still there even? You know, no one I've pulled away from the traffic lights. So I actually turned around. There must be quite a few people that have turned around to see if their passenger's there, and they're like gone and like, what the? So.
Yeah, there was a couple of times on that test ride. There was a couple of times that I felt like, bloody hell, I'm going to flip off here. It felt really unnerving a couple of times.
Yeah.
And there's other times when I was holding on for dear life onto the little tiny grabber and thought, Jesus, I'm going to rip the grab rail off here.
Yeah.
It was really, I didn't feel comfortable at all. I just didn't really enjoy it. And I think a lot of it was because I wasn't in control as well, because I'm used to riding rather than being a passenger.
Yeah.
It's all push and pull, isn't it? When you're holding that grabber, you're either pushing or you're pulling on it, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
I always find it when I was on the back very unnerving, hold on to that rail at the back. But it's that thing, isn't it? When you're on the back of a bike and it's a fella riding it, you feel a bit uneasy about wanting to hold on, don't you? Because you want to be seen to be a bit of a, a man, and I'm not old, don't we? So maybe we have to, maybe we kind of have to get over that and just think, you know what, I would feel more comfortable if I held on to you. Is that all right with you? And they'll only say no if it's not. And maybe it's about us getting over that, silly thing about thinking someone's going to think any different of you. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, the guy that took me on the test ride with the bike, I must have had a good 5-6 stone on him easy. He was a really small guy. And I thought, he was a bloody hell. If I've got hold of him and I come off the back, I'm easily going to take him. I'll probably let stop.
Very well anchored to the handlebars. I've taken some people a lot bigger on the back of bikes, and I've always said, hold on to me, and I can pull away hard, and I don't really feel them there, to be honest. Even though you'd be surprised how locked in you are when you're holding onto the bars like that. But yeah, so that's kind of how I sort of. Of course, the other obvious thing is that if you have got a passenger on, then you don't ride like you're doing, Ironman TT. You have to be, careful to ride, especially on braking. I think it's all too easy for them to keep sliding down the seat, and it is quite annoying, and it's annoying for you as well. And of course, if you're a male rider, you could end up squashing your family jaw with the passenger squashing you up against the tank. So I suppose that's the same for everyone in that sense. Is you obviously ride a lot more sensibly. I need to clear off some of these questions and comment quickly. So, Mr. B, I know this isn't quite the right order, but thanks for that, Google Plus, because Andy has plus forward his own message onto the top. It says, Mr. B, would you get on the back of Mr. B bike? LOL. Andy, that's an easy one to answer. I wouldn't get on the back of anyone. It really is that simple now. I'm just too much of a control freak. I just can't even bear to think about it, and it's got no bearing on anyone's riding ability. It's just me. I'm a rubbish passenger. So not much fun at a fairground either. So let's just go and take another question. I'm sure. Bex88, quickly take that one. I was up there for a while. BMP on my ex's bike was one of the things that got me into wanting a bike. I used to hold on to him, but as we to a stop, I put one hand on the side. I'm just trying to read ahead to make sure she doesn't get rude. I put one hand on the side, which helped me not lean forward. Yeah. So basically, what Bex is saying there is that two-handed method where you got one arm around the waist and one hand on the grab rail. It helps your passenger from keep having to, try not to push into you all the time. So yeah, nice one, Bex.
I might try that with the missus next time we go out.
Yeah, you have to consider the passenger. Mrs. B only does it when when the roads warrant it. If it's like when we went to Wales, there was a lot of twisties, and so I was doing quite a bit of braking, and she would hold on like that. But if you're just cruising, there's no need, of course, and that's another reason why you want your passenger looking where you're going. It's worth a try though. Oh, I'm just going to say hello to WJ. I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but hi WJ, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Nice to have you along. Right, and it's got one. I'm sure that one's just come in. Let's quickly take one of the Calm Bikers, and then we'll have a look at Glenn's message. When I held on to Mrs. B, I didn't notice him pull away. We're around. Thanks for that, Calm Biker.
And so it begins.
Okay, yes. Thanks for that, Calm Biker. I'll be working words. no doubt. Right, let's take one from Glyn. Hi all, have any of you used the strap you loop around the rider? Okay, yeah, I think Kev, that's you, don't you?
Yeah, I actually used one. Yeah, I was saying, I think you mustn't have been on the chat when I mentioned it, Glenn. But yeah, me and my missus use one, and they're really good. It can sometimes be a little bit annoying, as when we've been on for a while, she tends to, I don't know why, just naturally it tends to ride up a little bit, and you end up with it almost around the chest sometimes. So that can be a bit annoying. But she finds it a lot safer for her, so that's the main thing. As long as she's comfortable, then you know, I'm going to be comfortable anyway because I'm holding onto the handlebars. So as long as she's comfortable, then, really.
I find one of those things amusing about that. Have you ever been walking along once you got off the bike and sort of like hooked yourself on a door handle?
No, I haven't. But I went down. We both went down to the Ponderosa Cafe a few months ago, and I still had it on. I just forgot I had it on, and one of the guys said to me, "Fucking hell, mate, why are you wearing a saddle?" So it was a bit of a mouth.
Get up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, I think we'll take one from Who Am I? Hi, buddy. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi, mate.
It's hard to get my missus to hold on to anything. I keep telling her to hold on, but where she is from, they ride as, yeah, I know, where they ride on taxis, they basically sit side saddle on the bike and you think you're crazy. So they're not used to holding on. Oh, and evening, guys. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. Yeah, in Asia where they've got everything, you know, the main form of transport there is like mopeds and stuff. And I'm sure you've seen pictures of it before. They just kind of sit anywhere on the bike, don't they?
Yeah, sometimes they get the entire family on. Have you seen those ones, you know?
Yeah. And have you seen how many they have?
Yeah, the dog and the kids are on the back as well.
And a sheep and a cow. And
then all the luggage. The amount of stuff to get on it is just nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's none of that holding on stuff going on over there. I know what you mean, mate. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I would make sure that they hold on because they're my responsibility if they're my passenger. So yeah, quickly from Suffolk, Andy says, "Oh, that's okay." In response to me going on the back of anyone else, he's not been on the back of anyone else either. He's not been a pillion before, so there we go. A bit of a control freak as well in Suffolk, Andy. Devon Mellon says, it's a good point. This actually, funny enough, bike's really easier when you've got a passenger on. So bear that in mind.
I'll take his word for it.
Well, you know, if you pull away a bit quicker than normal and you've got a passenger on the back, then you might find the front wheel coming up. So if you're not used to wheelies, then you know, be careful of that one. Right, how much time have we got left? We've got 15 minutes. Now, can I trust to read any of Calm Biker's comments?
I'd say probably not, you know.
You reckon?
I'm trying definitely not to look at them because I know they're going to...
Yeah, I know. That's
I've read them already.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone can actually read them anyway. I'm not going to read them out because I can see where they're going. Yeah, thanks, Calm. And I'm just going to remove those now. And if you're watching this back later, you can still see the back. Don't worry. Right, we've got 15 minutes. What I wanted to pick up on next was, Kev, you mentioned it about when the passengers are on. We've kind of talked about getting on and getting off and pulling away and all that stuff. Oh, it's innuendo bingo night tonight, isn't it? But anyway, the next thing is shuffling about. You mentioned it before, Kev. When is the time when you tell your passengers not to shuffle about?
As long as we're not sat still at lights or a junction or anything like that, it's pretty much good with me. As long as you don't start doing the can on the back of the bike, it's all right with me. There's been a couple of times, even when my missus is only like 9.5 stone, she's tiny, and there's been a couple of times where she's just forgot, she hasn't thought, she's not comfortable, and she's moved, and the whole bloody bike has moved, the whole thing started rocking. So even with someone small on the back, it's an absolute nightmare. I always just say, as long as we're not moving, if we're moving, the actual movement of the bike will keep us steady. So shuffle around then if you need to get comfortable. Just don't do it when we're stopped.
Yeah. And Keith.
Yeah, same really. I sometimes find if I forget that I've got someone on the back and I go and brake hard, they're generally shuffling afterwards to put themselves back on that pillion seat. But again, that's fine as long as you've stopped. But like Kev says, it's unnerving when they're shuffling when you go in. You don't mind if you sat still because if you've been on a long journey, they might be getting a bit uncomfortable. They just want to sort of move a little bit, get themselves more comfortable before they set off again. I'd rather do that when you're stationary than when you're on the move, really. So it's fine when it's stationary for me.
Oh right, okay.
Oh no, I'm saying the other way around.
Yeah.
Saying I prefer it when I prefer them shuffling around when we're moving, as long as we're not in the corner. When
Right.
we're moving, if we're still, I find that more of a problem.
Do you?
Yeah, because I've got to balance the weight of the bike. The way I see it, I don't know. I'm sure it's just probably the centrifugal force wanted to move them, but because when they're moving around, I'd have to carry the weight of the bike and them. So if they shift the weight one side, it's not just 80 kilos of girlfriend; it's 280 kilos of girlfriend. So, Keith's got to go.
Yeah, and it what you mentioned. Oh, has he gone? All right, okay. But Keith mentioned something quite valid as well there. He's come back in now. Is that if you do some hard braking, and I'm the same as you, Kevin, that I don't like them fidgeting when I'm sat still. And I'll explain one scenario to you in a second. But if you have done heavy braking, then you will have unseated or made your passenger probably uncomfortable where they've shifted forwards too far. And the first thing they do when you stop is that they want to try and shuffle back. And I always say, if you want to readjust, wait till we're moving first before you adjust. And I'll give you a good example where I had a couple of words to say to Mrs. B. I'm not even sure if we videoed it or not, but I was paying a toll. So I had, I think I have both feet down. Obviously only one hand on a handlebar with the other one with the money in my hand. And Mrs. B decided to have a wiggle on the back of the bus and is like, "What? Hey, hang on, Jesus!" So yeah, not good. I'd much prefer people because once you're moving, I mean, especially the bus, it's rock solid. I mean, you could do the can on the back of that once it's moving. It's so solid. But when you sat still, and quite often, of course, if you're at traffic lights, I've got one foot on the rear brake, and so I've only got one foot on the ground, maybe only one hand on the handlebars. That is not the time to start playing around on the back because obviously I've got to grab hold of everything and put both feet down, and it's not good. So yeah, for me, when you sat still, no shifting. When we're moving, fine, because it's absolutely rock solid. And Keith, you were saying that in situations you're all right with the moving when you sat still.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people move around when we've been moving. I'm just saying, if I'd have a preference, I'd rather someone say, "Look, is that, do it when I'm stationary." Because usually, if I've got a pillion, I'm more likely to have both feet on the ground. Generally, I don't do it all the time because I find it a bit more stable when I've got a pillion on the back, and I'd rather them move at that point. But I have had them move when I'm moving. I'm just saying, as a preference, I'd prefer them to shuffle around while I was stationary. I was planted rather than shuffling around when I'm trying to move. But like I say, it doesn't really affect you so much when you are moving because like you say, the bike's kind of stay upright anyway with that centrifugal force. But as a preference, I would prefer someone, if they really want to move, to readjust where they're sitting. I'd rather them do it when I was stopped. Then we can get off again. That's just a preference.
It's each their own, isn't it? Horses for courses.
Yeah.
And it probably differs on the type of bike as well, depending on.
Yeah. Well, anyone moving on the back of mine, and the bloody bike's all over the place. It's not as big as a booster, so it's not as planted. It's quite a light bike, and any major fidget, and you can kind of feel it more. So maybe it's different on the booster with it being a much bigger bike.
Yeah.
Its centre of gravity is probably forcing it downwards a lot harder than it is on my bike, for example.
Yeah, the weight on the bus is really low down.
Yeah.
I think you might have even sat on it, Keith, and it
it's
feels
nice.
quite light, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does. Very light.
When you and I went to Southport, and I picked it up, it was like picking up a bloody 250 or something like that. There was just no weight to it. I was expecting it to be a big lump to lift up, but it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Yeah, it's like there's a big counterweight underneath, isn't there, that just kind of lifts it up on its own almost. But yeah, that's it. People would be surprised. Now, Calm Bikers brought up a very a good one. Tire pressures, and basically, check your bike and make sure you use the appropriate tire pressure. I can't tell you what pressure because every bike's different. If you've got a Hayabusa, I can tell you don't need to change the pressure. It's the same passenger on.
You don't have to do it with mine either. It's the same pressure, pillion or not. So that's good.
Mine are different. I've got different tire pressures. It's about 5 psi difference. But I'm a bit of a cheat. I just keep it at the higher one for the pillion, to be honest, even when I'm riding on my own. But having said that, talking about tyre pressure, just a dead quick one. I checked my tyre pressure for about the first time in about a week on the Shiva, about a week and a half after I got the puncture repaired. Thinking that they pumped it back up to the right PSI. And it's just shy of 40 PSI, it should be. And it was at 28 PSI. Couldn't believe it.
Wow. Is that the rear?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if that would have been the front, you would have known because it would have handled like a pig.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I see that's when it comes to DIY. Check it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a very good example. Tire pressure is very important, and of course the other thing is suspension setup. Again, every bike's different. The Hayabusa you can get away without having to alter it really, but you know you might want to adjust your suspension as per the book's recommendations. You know, the manual of your book. If you've not got a manual, get one. And if you're taking a passenger, adjust it accordingly. I'm not going to go into massive detail on that, but every bike's got a recommendation and stick to that. So good one, Calm Biker. Thank you for that. Or as you put it, a sensible one. Right, okay, we've got 3 questions left and 7 minutes left, so let's quickly have a quick look at those. Hand signals is quite a good one actually, Carl. We'll get to that in a second. Let's quickly take who am I's. He always prefers to have feet on the ground when 2 up, and that's I take it both feet. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. There are these such a scenarios, you know, if you're pointing the bike downhill, you might well have your foot on the back brake, but most of the time, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. So Southern Candy, really. Have any of you had a fat bird on the back of your bikes?
I'm not going to make a comment on that.
Question.
I've not, no. I've not. Both. The only women I've had on the back of my bike is my mum and my girlfriend, and they're both absolutely gorgeous.
Good answer. Yeah, I've not had a fat bird on the back of my bike either, to be honest. What about you, Keith? Answer, Keith. No?
My girlfriend is slightly heavier than I am. Not as heavy as she was when she first went on the back of the bike. She's slightly less now, but she is a little bit on the larger side, let's say. Not over large, but I like a girl with a bit of meat on the bones, you know.
Keith, I rescue there. That's a great answer, mate. Right, let's take Calm Bikers one because there is a bit of sensibility in there somewhere, I'm sure. But I noticed hand signals. So yeah, they have a system of hand signals. If Mrs. C wants to shuffle around town, we stop and she'll wait until my 2 feet are down and the bike is braced. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but also in terms of hand signals, of course, if you're going to do anything like maybe accelerate hard, you might want to have a, I mean, it's the good old, Mrs. B calls it the knee tap of doom. And open up the Hayabusa. But, you know, the other thing is for passengers, if you're stopped at traffic lights or a junction, you know what's going to happen next, don't you? The bike's going to pull away. So you need to hold on at that point. Mrs. B quite often, on the kind of early days of pillion, she'll be all relaxed because I'm riding sensibly anyway, and she'll quite often sometimes put her hands on her knees because we're just cruising. But when I come to a stop, she's got to remember to put her arms around me for when we pull away, because obviously I am going to be accelerating a bit harder there, just to get away from the traffic. So I'd recommend that people hold on whenever the bike's stationary, ready for that acceleration when you take off. I don't know if any of Keith or Kevin has got the same sort of tips on that one.
Ooh, it's only really my missus that riders regularly, and we've got a radio on our helmets. So we've got the radio on. before we've only been out a couple of times without the radios before we got them, and it was always just, we didn't really have hand signals or anything like that. It was always just, if you're uncomfortable, squeeze me with your legs, and then I'll pull in and we'll see what happens, what's going on. If I was going to pull away fast, I wouldn't usually if I've got it on the back anyway, but if I was going to accelerate a little bit harder than I usually would, I'd just give it a quick tap on the leg just to let her know. And that's about all we had.
Yeah, Keith?
Yeah, no real issues for me. I mean, the people I've had at the back are fairly used to being pillion, and they tend to hold on all the time rather than having that spell where they think that they can just sit and relax. So I've never really encountered a problem, really.
Yeah. Carl Biker wasn't that relaxed when he was on the back of my bus. There was lots of screaming going on and manic laughter. It was good fun though. No, it did make me think of something actually in terms of that. What was it? Oh yeah, I mean the intercom's obviously very good. I recommend that as well. It's so much better. I mean, okay, it did get a bit. It's like, okay, now I don't have any peace and quiet because my missus is talking. But it can be fun too, and it does add to the journey. And I did enjoy. I can't remember which vlog it was now that we recorded, but it was good fun with the. We went out for fish food and stuff. It was a good laugh. And it is good to be able to speak to your passenger in that way.
Yeah.
So I recommend intercoms as well. Okay. Oh, Suffolk Andy's come back. I did 32 stone, no good. Did you, mate? Did you now? But you got on the back of the bike. Was that a sheep? Have you been carrying a sheep on your back? I don't know. How heavy is a sheep? But anyway, nice one, Andy. I take it you're not with her anymore. Oh, and he's added to that he had to sit on the tank.
It's getting close to that time again, isn't it?
It is. We've got like 2 minutes left. Yeah, I picked up on what you said. Who am I? I know when you said feet, I guessed the fact that it was feet and not foot. That you meant both feet, mate. So yeah, get that. Okay. So yeah. Excellent. I quite often have 2 feet down as well, and it's all about the situation. If I'm on a hill, quite often I'll still cover the rear brake, and it's about your passenger as well. If you trust your passenger, then they'll be doing the right thing anyway. Okay. Is there anything else that you two can think of that we might want to mention in the terms of carrying a pillion that I might have forgotten?
Just don't go mad. Ride.
Yeah.
A little bit more conservatively than you would do, and brake earlier, like noticeably earlier. The times I took Jen out, I was braking as normal, and I got quite a few headbutts in the back. It's just so now I'm a lot sooner than I would do when I'm on my own. That's all I'd add really.
Yeah, definitely. If you've got an expensive crash helmet, I mean, mine was close to 400 quid, whatever it was. The last thing you want, and it's really annoying, is when someone headbutts you with their crash helmet. You better not have chipped my crash helmet. So, yeah, gentle braking, brake a lot earlier, brake smoother, definitely. It's not just about making it comfortable for everyone, but it also might save you getting a chip in a very expensive crash helmet.
Yeah.
So that's a very good point there. Thanks, Joe. Okay. Sometimes when you read some of these questions, you think, "Oh, I know it's not rude. It's okay. I can actually read that one." Getting bugs off the pill's visor. Getting bugs off any visors quickly. All you need to do is soak a kitchen roll in water, and then stick it on the visor for 2 minutes, and then just wipe it off. We even did a video on it. One of the early videos actually, how to get bugs off, and that includes off your fairing as well. So yeah, always take something anyway. Slightly different subject, but yeah, always take something to wipe the bugs off. Otherwise, you can get. Oh, I hit a massive bug the other day. I've got it on video as well. It's quite funny. So that'll be in one of my vlogs at some point. So I think that wraps us up for pillion riding. So if any other questions come up, of course, you can always ask them in the comments below. and I'll see them and we can answer them after the fact as well, if I've forgotten anything or you didn't get your question answered for some reason. So that only remains me to say many thanks to Keith Wyvern Biker, and many thanks to Kev, the infamous biker, for helping out with this safety hangout. And anything else that anyone else might have in terms of questions, you can ask at the 9 o'clock fully loaded hangout, where everybody's in and we talk about anything you want. So if you've got a question to do with bikes, or if you've got a question for like your famous bloggers such as the infamous biker there, you can ask those questions and you can ask them anything. Yeah, anything like. So brilliant. So thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. I'm going to just clear off those last two comments now, guys. Thanks for those, Suffolk Andy. And also, I'll always add, as a bonus if you get time. Oh, right, yeah, how to get flies off the visor. You're quite right. Who am I? I always say, a little tip, how to get flies off the visor or screen. You've got it now. Just water and a kitchen towel. Simple as that. Right. And there's a video on it too. Right, that's it then. Thanks very much for tuning for this. We'll be back at 9 o'clock on the Fully Loaded, which is a different video or a different channel. Well, it's the same channel, but a different video that you can look at and get onto there. And if you want to join that panel, you're more than welcome to. And all the details will be explained on the 9 o'clock Fully Loaded. So, guys, do you want to say goodbye?
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Yeah, cheers, bye. And don't forget, ride
invisible.
Ride invisible.
One day we're going to get that right.
We need to work on that.
Don't forget, ride safe. Ride
invisible.
That was better. Right, okay, we can go now. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers, guys. Ta-ra.
Bye.